Chase, get next to it. Chase, hurry up, hurry up. Chase, get in front of it. Chase.
Was actually called dendritic salt, big 50-pound bags. And all that salt was like used for roads, de-icing, and I think animal feed. I don't know, Jeremy, but it was ICI, dendritic salt. Well, all this was scooped up when they were finished, and George sold all that salt to Stanley Kubrick. And Stanley Kubrick put the salt out on an airstrip in L Street for a scene in The Shining that I was in, which was being shot at the same time. So all the salt on Hoth was used as salt on the interstate in Colorado on an airstrip in L Street, where you had the scene where Scatman Crothers is approaching a jackknife trailer over a Volkswagen. And that was not shot in Colorado, that was shot in North London. So dendritic salt has a lot of purposes. So when George, I guess, was running out of money, he figured, okay, well, I'll sell a few bags of salt to Stanley and see if I can recoup a loss. That's my story.
That's an interesting story.
Oh, yeah.
How about you just grab that mic.
It's very early in my film career. In fact, it's the very first film I ever made. Before that, I played in Shakespeare sort of jolly fishermen and very nice soldiers and things like that. And then Tony Richardson, the great film and theatre director, cast me in a film called Tom Jones. Write it down. Go and see, get Tom Jones on your television sets. It's the most glorious, funny, ridiculous, lovely 18th century English romp. And it's one of the few films I would say which is a true classic. A true classic. I promise you, Tom Jones, don't forget the name, look it up and watch it. Only take you an hour and a quarter, and I know you'll go, oh, I'm glad Julian asked me to watch this, because it's such fun. Starring Albert Finney, who you may know, the elderly actor like me, and a lot of the great big English actors of that time. And that was my first movie, which was tremendously exciting.
Wow.
Did you ask me what I wanted to do? No,
I want to know why you gravitated towards villains. Why did you gravitate towards villains in movies?
Yeah, well, that started me off. And people started to cast me as villains, and I was quite happy to do so. And when I was a young actor, the television was full of things called series, like The Avengers, The Saint, The Persuaders, Randall and Hopkirk, things like that. Television was littered with them, and that was our mainstay of income at that time, we young actors. And I always played the villain, and it got to the point where I would say to the producer, don't cast me in this, because everybody will know that I did it. But it really did get ridiculous. And then of course I got the wonderful one when I got much older, of the films which we've mentioned now. Fortunately now in the theatre I'm beginning to play more nice granddads and nice people, which is quite comforting in my old age. Because I'm a jolly good granddad.
Well, you did do a good guy once. He was really good in the movie Ivanhoe from 1980.
No, I played Richard III first, yes.
You played Richard the Lionheart, Richard the First. That was the first time I ever saw you in anything. I thought that was a great performance. It's a great movie, and you guys look it up. It's 1980 or 81. It's called Ivanhoe, and it's...
I think it's 1893, I think.
18.
Yeah, that Richard the Lionheart, it was the second time I played him. I played him in an episode of Doctor Who, in the very, very you've seen it? Well, you've seen 3 episodes of it. It was the very, very first series with William Hartnell, it was the first Doctor Who, and they had this series set in the East during the Crusades, and I played Richard I in that. And then many years later, in the 80s, the same director was making Ivanhoe, and he asked me to play Richard I again, which was a tremendous compliment and very great fun, and a lovely, lovely part to play, mostly on a horse, very good.
Yeah, and then Sam Neill from Jurassic Park played Brian Gubbia. Yeah, that was Sam Neill from Jurassic Park.
Sam Neill was
He
in
was
that.
in it.
Yeah, yeah.
And John Rhys Davis, who
Yeah.
played Sala in Indiana Jones. He plays a nobleman. And
James Mason was in it.
James Mason. That was a great movie.
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry, I just liked it. But anyway, so Nick, we have a gentleman in the front with a question.
Sorry,
Can you hear me all right? So much noise going on.
Hi, I'm Veronica Bruno. I'm
Hello.
a writer for Fansided, and I have not only seen Tom Jones, I have read the book.
The original book.
The original book, which actually, if you get a chance to check it out, both are amazing.
It is a wonderful film, isn't it?
It is.
It's just
It's a lot of fun. It's way better than you think it's going to be. It's an amazing film.
yeah, and it has a very famous scene in it, which was the first time anything like this had ever been done, which was a really sexy eating scene. A man and a woman opposite each other at a table, very hungry, not only for food.
Yeah.
And it is a classic of its kind, and it's been repeated in several other films. That idea in When Harry Met Sally, is it? The famous scene. I'll have what she's having. That came from that. That came from that idea. Eating.
It's hilarious, actually. And I have a question.
Yeah.
In Game of Thrones, it's really a shame that the scene between you and Tywin, where it shows what you're really like, wasn't in the show. And I get why they didn't include it, but isn't it? What's your thought on that? It's such a shame because it's a brilliant scene.
Thank you. A little story about this, I'm afraid. We got to the end of Series 6, Series 5, and I went to the producer and said, I wasn't going to tell you this, but you brought it up now. Producers and said, I don't want to do the next series. And they said, you've got to do the next series. I said, I don't. I said, it's a piddly little part, and frankly, I'm completely fed up with being ticked off by Cersei and being put down all the time. This is a much more dignified man than that. I'm not interested in playing that anymore. They said, well, I'm sorry, but you must do it. And I said, I mustn't do it. I'm not contracted to do it. Anyway, the first scene in that series was the scene you're talking about. I'll come back to that in a minute. But the main scene, having said I won't do it, they phoned me up and said, we've got this wonderful scene for you, Julian, in Series 6. Oh, have you? That's nice. Can I see it, please? Oh, no, you can't show it to you. Because that's the way these days, the secrecy thing in films is so absurd. Anyway, no, we can't show it to you. I said, well, you will keep it to yourselves then. I'm not interested. And eventually, to cut the long story short, a motorbike came round my house with a box in the back of it, which had a key, and the motorcyclist got out and unlocked the box and brought in these pages of this scene, which was my death scene. Which anybody who's seen it will know it's a wonderful death scene. And I had to put the papers back into the box, they locked it and took it away. I rang my agent and said, I'm interested in doing this scene, and I will do it, but only on 2 conditions. Well, actually one condition. I will do it, but I want 3 times the money. 10 minutes later, the phone rang, and you're on to do. So it's a great proof of if you don't want something, you might get it. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay, this scene to which you referred. In the very first series, after about 3 episodes, I went to the writers and said, this is not interesting to me, what you're doing. The stuff I read, my audition pieces, were very interesting. Well, we've done those now, and I see nothing interesting about seeing this boring old fart sitting at a table. Literally, if you've seen television, I've seen the X things on television, there's a farting table. Him sitting there, just I'm saying stupid things and being insulted. And whenever he comes on, he's insulted. And so I really don't want to do this thing. So they invented for me next week, which was wonderful, this idea that I was in fact covering up the fact that I was much more vigorous than people thought. And they got the idea from when I was filming, I might be standing like this, talking with my friends. They'd say act, they'd say turn over, and I'd get down into my position, and I'd do the scene, cut, and I'd stand up again. They got the idea from that good idea that he was covering up. Okay, they gave me a very good scene in the first series, you might remember, when I'm caught in bed with a girl, I'm talking about things to her, she goes out, and I straighten up and do a bit sort of bit of that, get dressed, look at myself in the mirror, go really straight again, go to the door, go down again, and go out like this. Very good scene, very good scene. They never did anything about that after that, until the scene which you speak about, which was at the end of series 5. A wonderful scene where they suddenly came out with, there I am on the beach,
Uncle's like this documentarian filmmaker, etc. Went to New York Film Academy, and I'm wondering. I did ask him this, and I wonder if he could capture better visually the reaction people got when Empire Strikes Back came out. I imagine it'd be a big deal since there weren't a lot of sequels then. Thinking maybe it wasn't a big deal. Maybe people disliked it because they thought that Star Wars should be left alone without a sequel. He was like 10 or very young when that happened, so he thought it was pretty amazing. I wonder what adults thought at the time. Although probably most of them really old and can't remember. Probably my uncle's aged pretty well and could remember it pretty well. Do your older generations have thoughts on the news of Star Wars, the sequel? Please comment below.